Yeah, sorry, I don't have a, a cover slide. I didn't get that far. But basically, what I will tell you about today is a bit about myself, about my world line, or my how my trajectory looks like, which I think is one of the most boring ones because it's the PhD in physics from NTNU in Norway. And then I will tell you a bit about what I think are strong sides for us PhDs in a fundamental science. But I will also talk about the importance of having more knowledge on what is the business in the business context. And this slide I should have put in the beginning, but I will tell you about this vampire paradox, right? So just for your awareness and as a disclaimer, where basically everything I'm gonna tell you, every word that comes out of my mind, of my mouth, is biased, heavily biased, and you should be aware of this. Uh, then I will talk very briefly about the different ways of transitioning into the private sector, how some of them are hard and some of them are really never transitions. And will it's a little analogy to the physics world with this phase transitions concept. And then I will just go into some very biased tips of what I think is important of why it is important to develop your soft skills in addition to the technical side. And putting a lot of emphasis on something that is called adaptability and why I think it is important. So I will minimize this window here with the faces. And this is what my world line looks like. This is my trajectory, life trajectory. Basically, I was born in 1983. In this, the background you see is my hometown, which I think is an acquired taste. It's beautiful for me, but it is, we are sometimes compared to, it's called Veracruz, and sometimes it's compared to Havana because they say that people are loud, dirty, and very happy by the coast of the Gulf of Mexico. So basically, I don't know. I think I have had a normal childhood, and then I started in 2002 at the Faculty of Physics and Artificial Intelligence in the University of Veracruz in Mexico, where my training was hardcore physics, theoretical physics, with a side of a lot of experimentation and what is the scientific method. I will show you a bit of what the curriculum looks like. And I was very lucky because I got a great supervisor, and basically he helped me to get introduced into the research world. And we published two papers in international peer review journals already in the bachelor. And it was basically applications of physical methods in physics to describe the ones used to describe general relativity, the mathematics of general relativity, but basically used to describe other systems such as DNA sequences. And something that I will argue for is that once you have a very good fundamental understanding of mathematics, fundamental of the understanding of what science is, it will be very easy for everyone to pivot and to adapt to different branches, basically. I concluded my master in science in 2009 in Mexico City, and until then I wanted to be like Richard Feynman, super cool physicist, like the opposite of an Earth. He liked to drink a lot. He likes to party. So basically, it's like a physicist from Veracruz, right? I like the cool, hardcore side of science, but I also like party and happy things. Published my thesis also in these geometrical methods to describe biological matter. But then I had my interaction with beautiful Norwegian people, and I met my wife. And at the 2009, I was finishing my masters, and 3 days after I finished, basically I flew to Oslo to meet her. Was in Oslo for 2 months. Everything was great. So here it's one of the things that I like to do a lot is basically I started to build my network in Norway from scratch, right? So I started to spam a lot of emails to a lot of researchers, trying to get my foot in door, trying to get hired as a PhD stipend in Norway. And basically this was very rushed, right? I think I used like 2 months, but then finally I got in contact with a professor from NTNU that was that helped me write an application. We sent an application, and I got in, right. But then basically this is where the career starts to take a different turn, because you move from hardcore academia, from a field that was like general relativity, geometric, into something that was totally different, like this working with quarks, working with quantum field theories and magnetars and these very, very exotic things. And in 2013 we had a baby, and then your perspective of things start to change, because you say, okay, these things, especially the hardcore physics, these things you're working with, the applications might come in 100 years, might come in 200 years, or might not come at all. And I feel like I can have a larger impact in the world. I have a baby. I feel responsibility to the world we're going to live for them. And yes, I have to move outside of theoretical physics. So basically, in 2015, I made the again. I started. There was no data science. I think it was at least not such a buzzword, or it was not a title yet. I believe back then it was big data analyst. And basically I start and I knew I had to transition out. So there was basically big data analytics and computational fluid dynamics for the oil and gas industry in Norway. Now, if you remember the context, 2014, the gas and oil and gas industry was going down. So basically, there was not so much chance to get into the industry. And what I did is I started stepping into a lot of companies, delivering my CV, highlighting why a physicist is relevant, why the mathematics are important. And I got a job at Telenor, where I was an internal consultant, basically developing a product called Mobility Analytics as a Service, which basically takes mobility patterns generated from users interacting with the cellular network, process it, analyzes the data, anonymizes the data, put it, visualizes. The service was offer visualizations of the data so that non-technical people could basically interact with dashboards and find answer the questions they had. And nowadays, I'm working as in Capgemini as a leader for the team, AI sensing team. We basically is industrial application of artificial intelligence, and also my latest largest project is with a big pharma company doing really awesome stuff. And of course, everybody in Norway in data science, or a lot of people, especially in consulting, has contact with oil and gas, right? So a bit of that as well. I do have to say, well, I will tell you later. The first task I got in Telenor, joining as a big data analyst or data scientist, was, okay, you know what? We're building this service. So why don't you create a SWOT analysis on the how the industry looks in Norway? And I didn't know. I didn't even know what the SWOT analysis was. I think I heard about it once in Silicon Valley in the series. Uh, my talk is. I have a couple of friends actually. I saw they joined from Veracruz, from my hometown, and they are also physicists interested in transitioning into the private sector. So maybe this is going to be interesting for them and for people with this kind of very, very, very technical profile, with zero knowledge in business, with not so much, not a software engineer. And at least I think we have some strong points, and that is our strength and maybe our weakness, right? We are brainwashed during, in my case, about 12 years, basically, of learning about the scientific method, 3 semesters, physics laboratories, several years, learning about algebra 1, 2, and 3, linear algebra 1, 2, and 3, probability and statistics. And then, this is, I think, the first maybe 3 years. All my lectures were just mathematics, and even the physics you do. Even a lot of physicists will agree that physics is maybe if you take, for example, relativity is 2, 3 principles, sentences, and the rest of it is just mathematics. So basically, you can see yourselves as people that that don't try to understand, because that's what we do, try to understand the world at a very fundamental level. Uh, that we have, if you want a vulgar way to call it, to refer to the scientific method, is an iterative method to solve problems. We are brain is in our brains basically. Since we they have used inception in our brains, and so I do believe that this data science is data is very important, but one has to take into account also the science part. And at least, yeah, I know maybe this might be a controversy, but for me, at least, one of our strong selling points is this you see in the screen. Now, data science and Feynman also criticizes this, right? Social science, computer science. A lot of you add science to anything to put the science tag, and then it becomes serious, right? Like you see a product, shady product online or on TV, and says scientifically proven. Okay, and then basically you come to this thing that Hyman refers to as the cargo cult science. And what happens is these people in the Pacific Islands were getting help from UN, and help was coming in these large airplanes, right? They were bringing food, supplies, and a lot of things to basically help the people. And at some point, they stopped. So these people needed the help. These people needed the food. These people needed these cargo planes to come and deliver the help, right? So what did they do? They used these plants, these palm trees, materials, coconuts, built an airport, built airplanes. This you see a huge antenna, and sat and waited for the cargo planes to come, and then they never came. Right. So this is one of the dangers of. For me, everything is about what Julia mentioned: mindfulness, awareness. This is one of the dangers of democratizing something with a lot of power, with the capabilities of helping a lot of people, but also damaging in a massive scale, right? So good fundamentals, good understanding of science, in my point of view, is something I really appreciate. However, this is I love this phrase, and they elaborate on this phrase, and they say when you move away from academy, the research grants that we sometimes, especially in theoretical physics, that we send are like, as I said, no applications in 100 years, applications in 200 years, or maybe never. So there is not really like the business case for fundamental research is something that is called externalities, right? The positive effects of education, the positive effects of research on technology and all this. Not in business. In business, at least as a consultant, especially, you want the business of business is good business. If you want to add ethics into this to make it sustainable, then you say the business of business is good, sustainable business, right? In short, I think what is really important to understand is that as a consultant, as a data scientist, if there is no business case for opening your laptop, you will not open your laptop, right? Everything has to have a business outcome and a business purpose. So I don't know. I don't know if everybody should take an MBA. I came to Telenor, and I realized in my interactions with people that, well, you have a PhD from the best technical university in Norway, but whatever, that you don't know anything about how to create real economic business value, right? So what is a SWOT analysis? What is a strategy? So then I went into basically taking an executive MBA, Master of Business Administration, in the best business university in Norway. And this is the things you learn, right? Maybe the very first one is just what the traditional things of an MBA include, which is accounting, strategy, marketing, ethics, economics, and these kind of things. And then it starts becoming interesting, because basically the agile development manifesto that Julia was talking about also translate to business, to strategy building, also innovation frameworks, learning about innovation frameworks such as design thinking is very important, because again, you cannot solve everything, especially in the business world, with the scientific method. You have to use all the other iterative methods, and design thinking is one that is great and everybody should at least know what it is, so that when you are called into a meeting with designers and they give you a bunch of post-its, you don't roll your eyes, as I did maybe in my first interactions with them, and think that, oh my God, these guys are, they were literally dressing as unicorns and Pokemons in Telenor. But it's just the creativity, it's the I will argue also that it's important to know how to interact with other people. Sorry, I will move really fast now. As I mentioned again, beware of the vampire paradox. Everything that I tell you is biased to my experience. The origin of this vampire problem is this you see here. If you were offered the chance to becoming a vampire painlessly and without inflicting pain on others, gaining incredible superpowers in exchange for relinquishing your human existence with all your friends having made the leap and loving it, will you do it? Based in my context, based in my experience with research, based on my personal life, based on my baby, based on my wife that didn't want to move from Oslo, I I knew that academia was not for me. And I'm not asking you to take the red pill and all of you move to data science, but learn about your context and see if this is the right thing for you. See your strengths and with what you want to do with your life, and listen to what Stephen said, because it's super inspiring, right? That you see that there is many ways to data science, basically. Be careful also with the transitions and be aware of what kind of person you are and what kind of transition you would like. I claim that a first order transition, one that is very dramatic, is that you come with a PhD in physics, fundamental physics, never program, and you become a consultant. This is going to be hard because especially if you don't know how to program, you have a lot to catch up, and this might be I don't know, at least stressing. There is a second order transition, which is if you come this might be if you come with a master's, but you're not so brainwashed into a fundamental science, and then you transition into an internal role, for example at DNB or Equinor, where you have been hired, and yes, you have pressure to deliver, but you're not the consultant, you're not an external, right? You're part of the family. And also the not transition, just a crossover. Big pharma, for example, they have really strong research and development arms, where yes, is driven by business outcome, is driven by generating value at the end, but also is research, right? So it's not really a transition. And here is beware of the Sheldon Cooper. Some of you might not know Sheldon Cooper. He's a fictitious character from a series called The Big Bang Theory. He's a theoretical physicist, genius, and he likes to belittle people. He is super genius, but he cannot cooperate with the Stephen Hawking, right? But you know that he died, but he was maybe the last living genius in physics. You need and the equivalent of the Sheldon Cooper is basically this 10x developer. This became a hashtag famous in Twitter, because a 10x developer is a person that can write the code of 10 normal developers all by himself. But then guess what? They looked better into this 10x developer, and then they came out with these articles that are like, are you a 10x programmer or just a jerk? The code they write, they are the only ones that usually have the level to actually understand their sophistication of writing code. Sometimes they don't have enough time to document what they write because they are developing the code of 10 people, right? And in general, I mean, they tend to be bottlenecks. So actually, the 10x developer or programmer or software engineer is a fictitious character that in reality is not generating so much business value. Social skills are extremely important. Now, these guys, like economists, I am a big fan of economists. They build really sophisticated models to describe the complex real world, and they came with this research paper. Check it out if you want. And basically, look at the red underline here. It says that jobs requiring high levels of social interactions in the US, at least, grew up by 12 percent points. On the other side, math intensive but less social jobs, including many STEM occupations such as fundamental science, shrank by 3.3 percent points over the same period. And the employment wage, so for you that were interested in money, basically is going up for those that have both math and social skills. And I don't know about many careers that have this combination, but I can tell you that data science is one with this this combination of skills is extremely relevant to basically, as you say here in this study, to get higher paid jobs. Well, at the same time, they're super exciting. And also one very important point when it comes to soft skills, not business skills only, but soft skills, is adaptability. Every time now when in the MBA we were being brainwashed about digitalization and what is a digital company, they all agree in their models that adaptability is key for not only for companies, and I argue that not only for companies but for individuals. It has been mentioned already. Diversify your knowledge, maybe NLP, maybe linguistics, maybe psychology. And I will add to that, not only try to diversify, but try to go to the fundamentals, because when you have a new problem, you don't know how, there is nothing out there in research, or there is nothing out there to tell you how to solve a problem. You always go to the fundamentals and you have a larger chance to solve complex problems. And adaptability, also be careful. Now, be strategic in your development. I always love to say this, I read it in a book by Robert Greene, also recommended, the really cool guy writing about psychology for the masses. Learn who you are to become who you truly are. Know your weaknesses, know your strengths, know what you want to do in life, know what kind of career you want to pursue, in order for you to start building your portfolio, in order for you to start learning the fundamentals, in order for you to start diversifying. But be careful, because there is a sea of information. This that you see here on the right part of my screen is the curriculum for the Open Data Science Master. I think this is a master that you can fully take online or via massive online open courses, or MOOC. I don't know if that's what MOOC stands for, but yeah, in online courses. And it has 10 main branches. But for example, if you look at one of some of those branches, they are talking about Hadoop and MapReduce. And I mean, even without looking at all of this curriculum, there are things that are just not used anymore. There is tendencies. Activate alarms for LinkedIn careers so that you see which companies are growing, what are the kind of fields that they are interested in. Read the newspapers, read books, be eager to learn, and be eager to adapt, but be aware and be mindful as well, so that you don't get lost and drawn in this sea of information. And I think
we're
that's
running
what
out
I
of
want to
time,
conclude.
Arturo.
Yes, I conclude now. And if you have questions, just send them on the chat and I will reply there.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, Arturo. There are some comments in the chat, definitely. So please follow up there. Claps from here.